I don't understand what jank you're calling for then, because the world was called, some people are calling for a ceasefire, which also Israel is not gonna do, just like you easily say, Hamas isn't gonna take that, Israel's not gonna take that. They've just suffered the worst attack in their history, and so they're going to try to
back 8 times over. So,
but it's not about payback. It's about an objective in the war.
Like
it's not. It's about an objective in the war.
What's the objective?
The objective is to get rid of Hamas, the terrorists.
Impossible. You know
impossible. So then they just give up. So then Israel just deals with terrorists. No, it's not a matter of giving up,
but like, it's an absurd goal. Like, is Hamas gonna raise their hand one day and go, okay, we give up?
Really? How did we get rid of the Nazis? How did we just defeat the Nazis?
Because those were a different time, Ben.
So now we can no longer defeat evil forces.
We couldn't defeat the Taliban. We couldn't defeat anybody in Iraq. We couldn't defeat the Sunni insurgency. We couldn't defeat the Vietnamese, because in the old days you defeated people by murdering everyone in their homes. So people who say like, hey, how did we beat the Nazis? Yeah, we firebombed Dresden and killed 70% of the civilians. That includes 70% of the babies, the grandmothers, etc. And so in those days, you fought and you killed everyone until they were tired of dying. I don't want to go back to those days.
Yeah, but those days, sadly, very sadly, are not over. That is how war works. You're just saying you're against war. And I agree, I'm against war as well. But that's how war works. Otherwise, what you're saying is that those are the old days. The new days are terrorists can do whatever they like. And then just with impunity, there'll be some payback for a few weeks, and then you get to stay in power.
No, so first of all, if war works by us murdering their innocent civilians, I don't want any piece of it. Second of all, it doesn't mean that you can't do anything against a terrorist. We can actually do special forces. We did against ISIS, we did against Al Qaeda. And by the way, all the bombing in Iraq killed hundreds of thousands of civilians, and it did not eradicate the Sunni insurgency or ISIS. When we used special forces and we got on the ground and we actually killed the bad guys instead of doing indiscriminate bombings, that actually did work. We did get Osama bin Laden. We did get the leader of ISIS, and that wound up. So if Israel goes in, and right now, by the way, the ground troops, as I said from day one, have been more effective. And a lot of people were against the ground troops. But I said, look, special forces is necessary. That's how you fight back against people who are trying to kill you. But if you say, hey, I'm just gonna bomb, like the reason why I say not one more bomb is because bombing doesn't work. And bombing Iraq created ISIS. It didn't end ISIS, it created ISIS. Yeah. So the more we bomb the Palestinians, the bigger Hamas is gonna get. In this day and age, the Viet Cong didn't raise their hand and say, we give up. Neither did none of these groups say we give up. And Hamas is never, ever going to say we give up. So if that's the standard, that means we're just gonna keep butchering Palestinian civilians.
But by that exact standard, you're acting as though the bombing was just purely, as you seem to think it is, for revenge or retribution. They were bombing these buildings, and while again, I'll say it every time, the innocent loss of life has been horrific, it was not for no reason, and it was not indiscriminately. It was to get rid of strongholds, buildings that they knew had Hamas strongholds in them, so that when they go in with the ground troops that you yourself were suggesting were a better idea and are a better idea, that they aren't a complete suicide mission for the Israeli troops. Also in the immediate aftermath of October 7th, you said, of course, Israel has to respond and is going to bomb. It's just, you hope that it's not a hugely disproportional number. You said, I hope it's not 10 to 1, 100 to 1. The numbers have been horrible. They've been 5 to 1 or 6 to 1. That's not good, but it's because we're trying to take out a terrorist force that also is a government. And so I do not buy the argument that there is ever gonna be a solution where you just say Hamas gets to win. And so I think a much smarter way to approach trying to get what you want.
They don't get to win, Ben. They don't get to win. So look, at the end of the day, so look, 2 last things, and then you got more of the story to tell us.
But a smarter part, what I'm saying, a way to do that is to not demonize people that are responding from this horrible terror attack, but instead say, great, thank you for a 4-hour every single day during war humanitarian pause and an extra humanitarian corridor. Actually turn the rhetoric towards something that is more inclusive and more positive, and say we are moving towards the right direction, not immediately on day one saying that's not real. Maybe it's a tiny bit real, but it's not real. No, it's a major significant change in the conditions on the ground. It's Israel going against what it believes its objectives need to be, to listen to the world community, to give opportunities for aid to come in. That's the big source of outcry from all of the groups saying civilians are being killed. So let the civilians out. So they're doing that. Extra humanitarian corridor.
They're not letting anybody out. Gaza's a prison. You can't leave
because
Gaza.
Egypt will not open their border.
That's ridiculous. If Egypt opens the borders and the Palestinians go to Egypt, Israel's going to close the border and just take Gaza. No way. That's crazy. No way.
It's entirely up to Egypt to keep that border open or not. But certainly it's not going to open the border into their own country.
No, Israel and Egypt have an alliance, and that's why. Ben, look, so we have massive disagreements. So when at one point they had about 8,000 civilians killed and 13 Hamas members killed. No, they weren't trying to bomb Hamas. They were doing indiscriminate bombings.
13 Hamas members killed. Where are you getting that number?
I got it from a news report. We reported on it.
Hamas does not distinguish in their numbers between Hamas soldiers and civilians. You have no idea how many Hamas soldiers were killed in that 10,000.
Even Netanyahu at one point, and he's a grotesque liar, said, in an ABC report, well, 10,000 were killed, but 1,000 of those could have been Hamas. Could have been. And if that's true, but you take Netanyahu's numbers, that's still awful. If you said to me, I've said this 100 times, hey, that guy killed your family members. There's no way that I don't want to kill that guy. I will be filled with rage. And you say there's 9 civilians around him, an aunt, an uncle, a grandma, a baby, etc. Would I bomb them and kill those 9 civilians to get the bad guy? Never, because it is deeply immoral. I'm not going to do the same thing a terrorist would do. That's insanity. And Israel's saying, yeah, I don't care. I don't care about the ratio. I dropped the bombs. The buildings collapsed. The babies' heads are crushed.
But they are not saying that.
Defense.
That is a lie.
That's not defense. That's offense.
But they are not saying that. They are taking far more measures than any country that I know of to make sure the civilians leave the area.
They take the least amount of measures.
They make phone calls directly.
Country.
They drop leaflets out of the sky. They make multiple statements on social media and on television. They paused. They said 24 hours to escape. UN said it's impossible.
Escape to what? Escape to what? It's an open air prison.
To the south.
And then Egypt
can open that border if they like. They bombed it a little bit to get rid of also Hamas targets. It's not the main area that the main bombing is happening. And so that is the reality of war. You're still not ever suggesting concretely how you suggest that Israel lives in peace and possibly gets peace.
Can I answer, please?
Sure.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
Okay, special forces to take out the Hamas guys who attacked. No problem, I've said it from day one. Try to release the hostages, do negotiation, do power, do all the things that you do. Then, this is super important. End the goddamn occupation.
There isn't an occupation in Gaza. I'll say it till the day I'm done.
Don't be insane, Ben.
There is a security and blockade of supplies. There is not an occupation. They voluntarily ended it in 2005 and removed forcibly their own Israeli citizens.
Hey.
How are you going to ask people to end an occupation that ended in 2005? And at least let's use words accurately, because I've seen too many times on this network people saying genocide when it is not one. People saying occupation when it is not one. There is an occupation in the West Bank. I admit it, because that's the definition and the words. But when the occupation ends, you say end the occupation. What are you asking for them to end it again? Should they go back in and then end it again? Is that the request?
Ben, okay, if I come to your house and say, look, I'm not occupying your house, but I can cut the water and power anytime, and I could starve you, and I could make sure you don't even get any water. And if you disagree with me on anything, I could drop a bomb on your head.
It's called a blockade.
I'm not occupying.
It's called a blockade.
I'm not occupying.
It's called a blockade.
I can just murder you anytime I like, but I'm not occupying.
But it's not the word.
Okay,
it's called
so
a blockade.
Let's call it a prison. So Israel should stop imprisoning Palestinians in Gaza.
And you know the big difference, though, is that when you have prisons, the people that run the prisons don't offer freedom to all of the people 6 different times, and they reject it when they get 85 to 97% of their requests. I've seen you shake off in interviews your head about saying they've been offered peace. You go like this, you go, no. But they have been offered peace many times. So shouldn't they accept that? What is your plan? Why aren't you telling Hamas right now, release the goddamn hostages, accept peace, make a peace agreement, put on paper, put your money where your mouth is, and offer a solution. Don't just keep demonizing Israel and not offering a way to solve the goddamn problem, because that goes on forever.
So 2 things about that, Ben. Number one, mission accomplished. Hamas, do a ceasefire, never attack Israel, recognize their right to exist, release the hostages. Obviously. And by the way,
are they gonna do that?
No, hold on. I'll make it even more like concrete. Hamas, stop being goddamn idiots. You're destroying the Palestinian cause as well as being immoral. Will you kill those innocent Israeli civilians? Now 10 times as many Palestinians have been killed. Are you happy? Was that mission accomplished? It is profoundly stupid. And it's easy for Hamas leaders to do that as they sit comfortably in Qatar and they condemn their own civilians to death. Ben, being against a terrorist is obvious, okay?
But having a plan to defeat them is much harder. And that's the whole point.
You have to stop imprisoning them. Look, Ben, if people come over, let's say they take, name any place. They take New Jersey, they take Texas, and they say, okay, now you're in an open air prison and none of you have any goddamn rights. And we get to put our boot on your neck. And now you're our servants. You're subhuman. Now you sit there, Texas, and take it. And if any of you ever fight back, you're all goddamn terrorists in Texas. What do you think Texas would do? Texas would blow up, those Texas citizens would blow up every goddamn occupier, and you know it. They would murder every occupier, and you know it. How much patience can the Palestinians have? They're sitting there in the West Bank doing nothing. They've been perfectly peaceful. And what did they get for the peace, Ben? What did they get for the peace? All they got was occupation. 56 years of occupation.
They've been offered peace 6 times. So when you keep somebody in a prison, as you say, what do you mean my ass? They have not been?
Yes,
they were
I will explain. I will explain.
37, 48, 67, 2000, 2008. They weren't offered their own state, and they said no. So yes, if murderers and terrorists are going to keep killing you, and you keep saying, here, I'm giving you what you want. I'm giving you most of what you want, and you keep saying no. Nobody on earth, yourself included, would also allow themselves to keep being killed by them.
Okay, so number one, 1937, at that point, Israel doesn't even exist. A bunch of people come over to Palestine and go, now you guys, this is your land, but we're planning to take half of it. So why don't you just give us half? And move out of your freaking houses. We own that land now. Oh, you didn't take it. Well, what a bunch of bad guys. I was gonna take your goddamn land and I was gonna make you march and then maybe die. Oh, you didn't take what generous offer that I gave you? 1948, I'm gonna take half your land. Give me your land. You can stay, you get the hell out of here. I'm more important than you. Oh, you don't own your land anymore. Well, you didn't take it? Why didn't you take it? What a lovely deal I gave you, where I only steal half your land. Okay, now you move to later rounds, then it gets more complicated. Because then they come back in and they go, I'll give you 87% of your house back. But I had 100% of my house. And by the way, you're not even giving me the 50% you already took. You're giving me 87% of the other 50%.
So there's no solution
Okay,
forever.
hold on. But at the same time, do I wish 87%, 83, 97, whatever the goddamn number was that both sides took it? Yes, I wish they both took it. And I wish Israel made a better offer, and I wish the Palestinians took a bad offer.
So that's the solution then?
Yes, exactly. Right. But at this point, both Obama and Trump have said Netanyahu doesn't want peace.